Greetings. On behalf of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Kappa Iota Zeta Chapter, Atlanta, Georgia, welcome to our Community Scholarship Panel Question and Answer Session, Securing the Bag, Tips to Winning Scholarships for Students, Parents, and Educators. I am Tanja Ford, Professional School Counselor, Kappa Iota Zeta Scholarship Co-Chair, and co-host and moderator for today. Joined with my co-host, Tisha Magruder-McKay, Associate Superintendent, Diamond Life member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and longtime Scholarship Committee member. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated was founded on the campus of Howard University on January 16, 1920, by our 5 founders. We honor these trailblazers who set the path to leave a legacy based on the principles of scholarship, service, sisterhood, and finer womanhood. Today, we are here 102 years later, supporting our first principle of scholarship. I will now turn it over to Tisha Magruder-McKay.
Good morning again, everyone. It is such a pleasure and a blessing to be a participant in this workshop this morning and to help facilitate it. It is my honor to introduce to you my family, my friends. I'm smiling so big because I love everyone on this panel today. First, I would like to introduce to you Miss L'Oreal Georgetown. L'Oreal Georgetown is a freshman at Barnard College of Columbia University. I hope I got that prestigious title together. We're so excited. She is a ZNF scholar. She's also a Lovejoy scholar. She secured the bag very well, and we're so glad to have her with us this morning. Of course, we have her mom with us. Her mom is a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Michelle Langham Robinson. She serves as our first vice president of Kappa Iota Zeta chapter and a dear friend. Next, we have Jersey Scott. Jersey Scott is one of my personal babies. Excuse me for getting so personal. I just love these guys to death. Jersey is a freshman at Columbus State University. She's a graduate of Johnson County High School, where I also support. And she is a Fulbright scholar. That came from the Pilot Club of Johnson County, and that was one of our major scholarships that she won. Joining us this morning is her mom. I love all parents of smart kids. Her mom is Amanda Scott, and she is one of the parent leaders in Johnson County Schools. Next, I will introduce to you one of my dear hearts, Mr. Quincy Howard. Quincy is a freshman at, I'll call it Georgia Tech. He would probably like for me to say the more official name, Georgia Institute of Technology. Quincy is a graduate of Dublin High School. He served as valedictorian, and as valedictorian, he is very familiar with securing the bag, won several scholarships to help him along his way. And next, we have another parent, also one of my good co-worker friends, Mr. Charles Howard. He serves as the principal of Johnson County Elementary School, and just a wonderful dad of 2 kids that I love dearly. And I'm so glad that these parents are here with our scholars, because we know that it takes good parent influence to help us go a little bit further. Next, I would like to introduce to you one of the queens of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Our international second vice president is with us, Chrislyn Turner. She too is a dear friend, and right now she coordinates a lot of information about scholarships from our international organization, and we're just so excited that she is with us today. And as I have introduced the panelists, let me just back up for a moment and go ahead and establish protocol, something that I do love dearly. I would like to, although we have already acknowledged our founders, I would like to acknowledge the chair and co-chair of this committee, Taisha Gray, Tanja Ford. Our chapter president is Regina McLaren Freeman. Our international president of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated is Valerie Hollingsworth Baker. Our regional director of the Southeast region is LaWanda Harper. And our state director of Georgia is Vicki Pearson. We would like to welcome them in their absence, all members of the Blue and White family, friends, and guests. Thank you so much for joining us today. And at this time, we will turn it back over to Ms. Ford. Tanja, we're ready to get it started.
Okay, I'm excited to hear from our youth, our students. This is a unique perspective from you all as freshman college students. You have put in the work, and what better way for students to get advice from their peers, and advice that is so relative. And I'm excited about this diverse group of students that are from private institutions and public institutions. So I will just begin asking you all a few questions about your scholarship experience, and then if you will unmute yourself and answer. Our first question, will you all please share with us some of the scholarships that you have received, and how did you start your scholarship search process? Would we like to begin with ladies first?
Okay, I guess I'll go first. I received several scholarships. One was the Pilot Foundation Scholarship, the Georgia Mountain Scholarship, and several others. And the main thing I did to start off the scholarship search process was I met with a school counselor, and she told me where to find them, the best websites. And even with Johnson County, we had a page on the school website where you can go and you can see all the local scholarships. And so that's kind of how I got started with the whole scholarship process.
Okay, Jersey.
I received several scholarships from the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated on the local, state, and national level. And my mom kind of helped me keep track of those and remember when the deadlines were coming up. And I also had a Google document where I would put all of my scholarship deadlines in. And I also received a scholarship from the National Honor Society, which was specifically for people who were already in the chapter at our school. So that was another thing, another resource that my school reached out to me with. And then I got various merit scholarships from the schools that I applied to. So making sure that you're on track of, like, keeping track of whether you need to apply for scholarships at that specific school or whether you're automatically considered for them is also something that's important.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for me, I received the Zell Miller Scholarship, which is also a merit scholarship. I received the Georgia Dale Met Scholarship, which is pretty good for me. It's $1,000 per year, and a few other local scholarships. And I feel like the biggest thing is just making sure you start early, especially towards your senior year and around that same time where you begin your college process in general. And like she said, keeping up with your deadlines and just making sure that you're keeping up with all the scholarships that you're applying for is important.
Thank you, Quincy. So as I hear you all say, it starts with your school counselor, your family, your parents, and looking at local websites and creating a Google document. And Quincy, you said to start early. So my next question for you all is, when is the best time for students to begin their scholarship search? And how did you manage those scholarship deadlines?
Yeah, like I said, definitely starting early is the biggest thing. I know me specifically, I think my first scholarship that I turned in was probably around October, September of senior year. So that's pretty early considering like things usually come out during the spring. So you can still be on the lookout for a lot of scholarships, even though they come out later in that spring area. And yeah.
Thank you.
I would say that you can also, sorry, completely lost my train of thought, but I would also say that in your junior year, you can start looking at scholarships that you want to apply to for your senior year. And I know that like they sell this book in Barnes and Noble that has like huge compilation of all of the different scholarships. And even if you don't qualify for them in your junior year, that's things to look out for your senior year. I started applying for essay contests in my junior year and the summer of my senior year, just because usually you can get essay contests even if you're not a senior. And the other scholarships that are just like merit based, you have to wait till your senior year. So I started looking for things that I could win immediately.
Yeah, I started in my junior year just kind of coming up with a game plan. And then the beginning of senior year during that summer, I started kind of starting the essays and coming up with like a format of, all my extracurricular activities so that when it came time to apply for these scholarships, it was very easy. It was easier. And I also created like a Google document that told me all my deadlines so I could keep everything in order.
Thank you all. So what I hear you say is early is key. Early is key. As early as your junior year. And also the vast variance of scholarships that you'll have. They're local, state, and national. So look in all arenas. And we're thankful for technology. And I hear you all using Google Documents to stay organized, Google Calendar. So thank you all for that. Now, moving on, several scholarship applications have the essay component. And essays can be tough sometimes. What tips would you all provide to students on writing a winning essay? And also, did you recycle or reuse your essay? Please speak about this.
I've definitely ended up reusing and using a lot of my essays, especially since most scholarships do give around that same topic of interest as far as what they're looking for as picking a winner. So I did reuse essays, but I definitely made sure I still did my research on the organization, and you have to make sure you include like your keywords and things that they're also looking for. Like, for example, if they have like a mission statement, you can make sure like you include those keywords or just even like adjectives that they are really kind of looking for as far as when they're reading your essay. So I feel like that's important as far as writing the essay in general.
Yeah, I created like basically a master essay, and whenever I had a different scholarship with like Quincy said with a mission statement, I would take that master essay and I would change it and make it apply more to that scholarship. So it wasn't like I had to write 10 different essays. So yeah, creating a master essay really helped me with that.
I'd say that in general, writing a winning essay comes down to just becoming a better writer in general, working on your writing in class and stuff. Because then when it comes to writing for a scholarship committee, it'll come like second nature to you. Sometimes different scholarships would ask similar questions. So I would use like a similar framework. And a lot of times my framework would be kind of similar to what I was submitting to my colleges too. But I would keep in mind that if I was submitting something to the same organization for different scholarships, I would always want to change what I'm writing. I didn't want to submit the same thing. And I also made sure to personalize it to like a specific organization. So your responses should be tailored to the specific question that they're asking and like the goals or mission of that organization, whether that be that it's a faith-based organization or a service-based organization.
Thank you all. Thank you. So what I hear you all say is, 1, create a master essay. 2, research the organization and tailor that essay to that organization and their mission, vision, and goals. And practice makes perfect. In general, just practice your essay writing skills. And again, having the ability to be able to reuse your essay is just a matter of thinking smarter, not harder. Thank you, L'Oreal, Quincy, and Jersey for that advice. So our last question for our student panelists is just a summary. What would be the best piece of advice for high school seniors to help them secure the bag and win scholarships, in your opinion?
A piece of advice I would give high school seniors is to always start early. And when you're applying for a scholarship, don't not apply to that scholarship because you think, I'm not going to get that scholarship. Even if there's hardly any chance that you can get the scholarship, still apply. There's one scholarship I applied to, and I knew I probably wasn't going to get it because I didn't, my major that I was going to college for didn't apply to that that scholarship, but nobody applied to that scholarship. So I ended up getting it. So never be discouraged from applying to a scholarship.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like my 2 biggest pieces of advice would definitely be, for one, applying in general, because I feel like the scholarship process it can be subjective. So like the best thing you can go based off of is the numbers and the probability. So the more that you apply, regardless of what scholarship it is, the more you will get, most likely, just because of the numbers behind it and the amount of times that you applied and the effort you put in to the number of scholarships that you applied to. And then my second piece of advice would just be to build your resume, because that's another big piece of the scholarship process. And that's going to be a really big thing that they look at in general. For example, just trying to work on your SAT score and just like being able to say that you can put that on your resume, your community service, volunteer work, and building a strong resume is also important. So
I agree. My first piece of advice was going to be to build your resume because scholarship committees can tell when you've actually been putting in the time. So start early, start in 9th grade, start getting activities together. And I also think it's important to have like a common thread. So doing different activities, if they all are related in some way or they all highlight your passions, then it's even more likely that you're going to stand out as an applicant. Also, have people read over your essays, even though it kind of feels weird to have your parents help you a lot. Or sometimes I feel like just in our minds, we don't want parents' help sometimes, but it's actually very useful to have your parents read over your essays, have friends read over your essays, even teachers, just because that also increases your likelihood of getting every scholarship that you apply for.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the contributions that the students gave. I'm just amazed, because had the adults gotten together and did this workshop, I don't think we would have been as versed as the information you have provided today. Even just saying building your resume, I was sitting here thinking, resume, they don't have a job. But I mean, clearly the things you're saying just align so well to keep your GPA up and your results, your community service, and just all the different things that you're doing, your church membership, all of these aspects. Thank you again. As we transition to the parents, I just want to mention that the students definitely have been the gem so far. So let's see how our parents shine. All right, back to you, Ms. Ford.
All right, Ms. McCabe, I concur with you. I loved hearing what our college students had to say. I learned a lot, and just best wishes to you all, and keep up the great work. I look forward to see what you all do in the future. So parents, I am a professional school counselor, and I stand firm on that you all are your child's first advocate. And so we really wanted to hear what you all had to say today. So our first question is, share with us your thoughts on what you feel like is the most important role of the parents in your student scholarship search.
I'm happy to start. Okay, so I would think that from my perspective, the most important role of the parent is support staff. They're driving the bus, they're the ones in charge, and it's their responsibility to get it done, but they need encouragement. They need, gentle reminders. It is a big time in their lives, a lot of social activities, and they still want to enjoy their senior year because that's when most of their applications are being submitted. So it's just kind of helping them to stay focused, not drop deadlines, just gentle reminders. So just support staff to get them to their end goal.
And I just want to reiterate what she was saying. The biggest thing is just encouragement for our children. They have to know that they can do it, and that starts at home. And so, yeah, everything she was saying, just always be available for your child and be there to help them. I wasn't familiar with a lot of what she was doing, but I was there to support her and help her and send her in the right direction. So yeah, all that.
Well, I guess I don't really have to answer. The two parents before me had nailed it, basically being supportive to your children and making sure that they know that they can do this is huge. So, just that supportive role is I think the most important.
I just want to jump in right here, Ms. Ford. I'm smiling because Mr. Howard is a dear work friend of mine. Like, I go in his office and close the door and just get life counseling. Oh, but I smile because in my mind, the way he raises his kids is with a stern sort of love. And he's just a no excuses type of gentleman. And I would imagine he would set that same foundation for his son. I also personally know Michelle, Miss Robinson, and she's a no nonsense type person. And I could imagine the structure that she provides is also there for L'Oreal. And then Miss Scott, I don't know you that personally, would you say you're a very structured person, or maybe I can even get Jersey to mention it? Are you structured and that rubbed off on your child?
Yes, ma'am. I try to be with 3 kids. You have to be. Yes.
Good deal. Thank you. I just wanted to jump in, Ms. Ford. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that is fine. As we say, parents support, and encouraging them. And yes, they are young adults, but they still need that guidance to help them stay focused and stay on track. So thank you all for that. Now, students receiving aid have to complete what we call a free application for student aid, or what some hear as the FAFSA. What was your experience like with completing the FAFSA with your student? And in your opinion, what is the best way to successfully complete this task?
Okay, it was difficult and overwhelming at first, which I'm sure it was to everyone. But once we sat down and we figured out what we were supposed to do, and the meetings that the counselor had at school for us helped in that process as well. They didn't just educate the student, they educated us on what we needed to do and stuff. So at first it was overwhelming, but we got through it.
I think one of the biggest things is the gathering of your information that's needed to complete that process. That's something that you definitely need to try to do up front. Make sure that you have all of your information readily available, so you're not scrambling to try to figure out what this is and what that is to be able to, complete that process. So upfront gathering of information, I believe, is very important.
And so I agree with both comments. The FAFSA is a beast, and there should be no expectation that your student can do it alone, because it is based on your information. And so as busy as we get as parents, as soon as that information is available to be submitted, you should start working on it. As Mr. Howard said, gather your data and be ready to input it. Now, it's all your personal information, and so it can feel a little bit invasive, but it's necessary. And for the students, we completed ours as a family. And so L'Oreal was inputting the information, and we were providing the data for her to input, because we thought it was important, because at some point she needs to understand what the process requires. So it was very challenging to get it all done. It's very time consuming, and then you will have some institutions that will require an additional financial background form submitted. And I can't think of the name of it just off of the top of my head, I'm sorry. But when you finish the FAFSA, there can be yet another form that you have to complete. It's time consuming, it's grueling, but in the end, if it's not done, and if it's not done timely, then they risk missing awards and financial support.
Thank you all, parents. This was an important piece that I wanted to make sure that we covered. Seeing that in college, I was a first generation college student, and applying for financial aid and completing that with my parents, it was challenging. I was able to receive federal work study, and I ended up working in the financial aid office, and it was grueling seeing students and parents having difficulties and challenges completing that. So we don't want parents to get discouraged when they are completing it. Gathering that information early, as Mr. Howard said, is so very important. And I would encourage you to also keep a file folder, something simple and basic, to have your tax documents and your personal information readily available. And I would also be remiss to say that this week is National School Counseling Week, and your school counselors are vital to you in your college search process. And so reaching out to them when you need assistance is important as well. So thank you all. Our next question for our parents would be, what is your greatest challenge in the scholarship process with your student, if you had any, and how did you overcome that challenge?
We really didn't have that many challenges. Like I said, our school, and Nicole, her counselor at high school, she educated us thoroughly. She would send out reminds of what scholarships were available for the students, and she sent them to us parents too. So we were getting that information as well. And I just told Jersey, I said, make sure you familiarize yourself with Nicole as much as you can, because she helped her when I couldn't. And so that's the key thing, is your school counselor is very beneficial when it comes to this. Just make sure that you are getting that information, and she did well with that.
So for us with challenges, I think the biggest challenge was ensuring that the scholarship application process did not become a full-time job, because the full-time job was still completing your academics, because your school report, your grades, all of that count. It counts all the way through the end. And so you're not done until that last grade is submitted. So for us, it was ensuring that she had a good balance in time management, the amount of time that she devoted to scholarship applications versus the amount of time that she was devoting to her coursework and her extracurriculars, because all of that, it just has to be managed. So there are a lot of scholarships out there, and we just had to realize that we had to hone in on the ones that would give us the biggest bang for our buck, and that would, it's just kind of the cost risk analysis, you know, and what's the return on that investment. And if it was going to risk something in an AP class or something, you know, academically, then we could not take that risk. So that was our biggest challenge, making sure that we didn't become overly consumed with applying for scholarships.
I definitely agree with what Ms. Langham Robinson just mentioned. And I think my son probably would agree that we did kind of stay on him a lot about scholarships, and you have to have that balance. He was participating in extracurricular activities and still trying to keep up his academics, and we would constantly stay on him about completing things, but it definitely has to be a balance there where one does not overtake the other. So I definitely agree with that.
Okay, so thank you all parents for sharing your experiences as support for other parents and guardians. So we'll close with you all in the parent portion with our question. What is your best piece of advice for parents of high school seniors, and how can they best support their student in the scholarship process in securing the bag?
Okay, well, I'm happy to start with that one. I think that the best way to support them, we're their biggest cheerleaders. They don't know it at all times, but we are. And so I think it's just ensuring that they follow the requirements of the application. You know, sometimes they get busy and they're moving. So I was just a double check, you know, when I'd ask, did you get that? Did you do that? Yes, yes, yes. And I know it probably became very annoying that I was asking those questions, but the kind of the idea was you just want someone to help you remember it. We know you have it, you know, we know they're awesome, but just to kind of support them and to make sure that they dot those I's and they cross those T's, because there are a lot of applications being submitted. And so when scholarship panels are reviewing that documentation, they need a way to eliminate and to get the numbers down. And so you have excellent students submitting amazing documentation. And so when you're on a panel, you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I pick from these dynamic students? Well, don't make it easy on them by failing to submit something on time, by missing documentation, and also say that make sure, because you know you have to have letters of recommendation, be considerate of the time of the people who are writing those letters of recommendation. So with mine, it was always, have you already asked for that letter of recommendation? Because you want to give them enough lead time so that they can write a letter that really speaks to who you are. Because once that committee gets it, you don't want to just give a patent letter of recommendation. You want a letter that speaks to who you are as a student. So for me, it was just ensuring that she dotted those I's and crossed those T's, and encouraging her to ensure that she made it difficult for the committee to eliminate her.
And everything she just said, she just said everything I was going to say. We are their biggest cheerleader, and they have to know they can come to us when they need us. And we have to remind them all the time, you know, do this and do that. But if we don't, who will? And they need to know that we're going to do that, and we're always going to do that. I don't think we'll ever stop doing that. But I was just so proud of her because she really made it easy. easy situation for me and her dad. And just keep encouraging your children. Encouragement's the key word there, just encouragement. They need to know that they have that at all times.
Thank you so much, parents. You guys are awesome. I'm trying my best not to judge you and thinking, whoo, these are mean parents. But I know in the structure that you give, it is love. And thinking of my dear friend, Mr. Howard again, I know he's all about minimizing the out-of-pocket funds. If you can get some scholarships, let's go get them to help to help balance everything out. As we do transition from these parents who are just awesome, I do want to share, Ms. Scott mentioned Nicole Shepherd. Nicole Shepherd is one of my dear work friends as well. She's a high school counselor. She had intended to be with us today, but had another family obligation. And if I can just share from everything that parents have said, the students have said, and even from my personal experience, if you don't have a parent that is a driving parent, you may need to drive yourself. And one tip I can give you, get on your counselor's nerves. Go see them every day because they have a lot of scholarships and a lot of tips. Make sure they know your name. And when that unexpected scholarship comes through, then your school counselor will think of you. So again, I want to thank the parents for their contribution. Want to again shout out Miss Nicole Shepherd and all of the school counselors doing this National School Counselor Week, because we know that you do a wonderful job helping kids make the mark. At this time, we will transition to our last portion. Again, I will introduce. Yes, sir.
Something in real quick.
Yes, sir.
I did want to mention one thing. Word of mouth is a powerful thing, and you know, one thing I wanted to mention was that when you have a piece of advice to parents of seniors is you may want to get your child to tap into some students that have come before them. So they may know some kids that actually graduated a year before them, 2 years before them, that they might have been close to, that had some scholarship experiences that they could share with them. So like I said, word of mouth is a powerful thing. And that would be a tip that I would give to parents to see if their children can tap into some students that may come right before them.
Yes, sir. We agree. I think you've captured the essence of this workshop today with these panelists. Again, we as adults could have gotten on here, but hearing it from your peers, touching bases with your peers, and these three young people you see today are college freshmen. They just did this last year. So yes, that is exactly what Mr. Howard is saying. Touch bases, find someone who has done what you're trying to do. Thank you, sir. Thank you again. And now we will transition again to our last portion, as I love to smile about one of our queens of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. We are international sorority, and we are just so blessed that someone with an international title, second vice president, with a heart for education, because she helps coordinate our Zeta National Education Foundation. And she has graced us today with our presence. And we are so excited to have bring before you Ms. Chrislyn Turner.
Thank you. Well, Ms. McKay and Ms. Ford, it is an honor to be here. And I am just really excited listening to the students and their supportive tips, their journey, and their success stories. It's warming my heart knowing that they can provide an example for other students. And so I'm excited to be here, and I will speak to you from an evaluator's perspective. I am the person that receives these applications and reviews them and selects them for an award. And so I'd like to share that perspective with everyone today. I did prepare a few slides, but I just want to let everybody know these students are doing things the correct way. And it is completely obvious because they have won awards and they have some good practices under their belt. And so I will share some of those best practices with you as well. Soar forward. Here are a few scholarship do's and don'ts. There is a full presentation that I share, but I'm just going to leave this workshop with a few tips. And of course, read all the guidelines very carefully. That is very important. We as evaluators can tell when someone did not read the instructions. We can tell when they followed their own path and submitted what they wanted to submit, and that doesn't work. These students are living embodiments of keeping track of all your deadlines. That is so important because you still have a life outside of applying for scholarships. You are still students first. Some of you work, some of you have academic activities. And so we want to make sure that you organize your life in such a way that you can fit this in as well as continue to do what you're supposed to do, which is graduate high school and graduate college. Keep all of your documents handy, and these students are doing that. And some of them are using Google Drive, and that is a good repository to use. Make sure that you have all of your documents handy. And when I say documents, we mean that academic resume that some of the students have already mentioned, the FAFSA that has already been mentioned, because that will be so vital. A lot of applications require information that has already been submitted on the FAFSA. So you do not want to reinvent the wheel by submitting a FAFSA and then letting it go, not keeping a copy, and then having to turn around and ask your parents again for that information. Keep those documents handy. Of course, proofread your application before you submit it, and keep track of the applications that you submit. If you are seeking a specific dollar amount that you're striving for, make sure that when you're putting together your chart of applications, make sure you keep track of your amount so that you can get to that $50,000 mark, that $100,000 mark. So those are some things that I want to share with you, but more so than this, I want to make sure that you know what we look for. We look for a compelling essay. The essay is truly the heart of your application. Yes, we want your demographic information, but the essay is truly the heart of the application. We are looking for you to speak to your goals, your aspirations, share how some of your accomplishments will help you achieve this next set of goals. That's what we want to see in applications. Or in the essay. That's very, very important. Key thing, remember that once you submit the application, that's it. We're not going to talk to you anymore. So this application has to stand on its own and speak on your behalf. So it has to be complete, it has to be comprehensive, and it has to be compelling. Those 3 C's: complete, comprehensive, and compelling. Okay, so those are the things that we look for. We can tell when something has just been put together on the fly. So next slide, please. The don'ts. Don't wait to the last minute. If the application deadline is March 15th, it is March 15th. Don't wait to March 14th to try to submit an application and then send in a letter asking for an extension. That does not bode well for you at all. You may be granted, but then you've now stood out for the wrong reason. And so that is very important. Don't submit an incomplete application and then assume you can submit supplemental applications or support documents. That is not always the case. Some applications are lenient, but for the most part, most are not. So make sure you set aside enough time to put together a full, complete, professional packet that can, once again, stand on its own and not need supplemental documents. You never want the evaluator to think, question, or wonder about what you are trying to say. It needs to be complete thoughts. It needs to be a complete packet. I need to be able to see your application next to your academic resume, next to your essay, to say, I see where this student is going in the next year. I see where this student wants to go. I see what this student wants to accomplish. So I'm hoping that that makes sense to some other students in our audience, that that is what we look for when we ask you to put together your information. So don't put together, don't wait to the last minute, because you never know, you may have technical issues and you can't submit. And sometimes when you miss the deadline, that is just it. You have to wait till next year. Don't submit anything incomplete, because it is highly competitive. And as Ms. Langham Robinson said, we are looking for reasons to eliminate somebody. It does not matter if you have a 4.2 GPA and you are the captain of the debate team. If you're missing a document, you're eliminated. If you have grammatical errors, you're eliminated. And so you have to keep that in mind. Also, there is one thing that I want to share with you. Unless an application says specifically to share Google documents or Dropbox documents, don't share documents. And I say that because you retain ownership when you share, which means you can still update documents. And if you're able to update a document after the deadline, we don't take those. That is something, so it is best to always submit. If it is something that's saying, put it in the mail, put it in the mail. If it's saying, send us a PDF, then you send a PDF. If they say, go into this portal and submit everything, that's what you do. Do not deviate and submit anything other than what is asked. Does that make sense to everybody? Because when you do it your way, you do yourself a huge disservice. Next slide, please. Where and when to look. Our students shared a lot of good information of where to look and when to look. And I would like to add to that. Of course, Ms. Jersey Scott said that she started with her school counselor, and her school counselor shared with her the internet. Young ladies and young men, there is a lot of money to be had out here. So it's just a matter of where you look. And I want you to make sure you don't get discouraged. Start with, like I said, your school counselor. Ask for a list of scholarships that pertain to what you're interested in majoring for. Start with the internet. Also, and I will just use this as an example, if you're interested in being a school teacher, look at the national organization. There's a lot of organizations that offer scholarships to students who are going to major in that specific industry. So you can start there. Start with the school that you've been accepted to, because they will have a plethora of applications in which you can apply to as well. Your church, local organizations like Zeta, other civic organizations. Also, don't rule out your parents' jobs. Quite often, if they're in corporate America, their corporations offer scholarships as well. And that now that you're a student or their child, their dependent, it makes it a lot easier for you to become a recipient. So I share that so that you can make sure that you expand your search far and wide to make sure that you capture what you're looking for. And not all scholarships are academic based. Some are based on economics. Some are based on major. Some are based on culture. So you just need to make sure that you don't want to say, oh, I don't have good grades. There are other avenues for you when it comes to looking for scholarships. Next slide. And so I encourage students to always set aside time. And I am a proponent of Sundays to set aside time, but that might not be your day. And I say set aside time because just as you set aside time to study, you set aside time to go to work, set aside time so that this does not become all-encompassing in your life and that you're not just focused on this. And you want to make sure that on the opposite end of that spectrum, you're not ignoring this and waiting to the end of the deadline to submit. So I want to share that we can tell when someone took the time to put together a good packet, and we can tell when someone just put something together and sent it in via their phone. So you know that these individuals that evaluate scholarships are school teachers, counselors, principals, superintendents, individuals that have experience in education, individuals that have counseled students to make sure that they are on the right path. We have English teachers, so understand when you put this together, you're going to give it to someone who has a level of expertise to see what you are putting together. I hope that makes sense to a lot of the students in the audience. So I will leave it at this point to answer any questions you may have that an evaluator looks at, thinks about as we put together your scholarship. Oh, okay, yes, I almost forgot, I got one more slide. So as mentioned, I do chair our National Scholarship Committee, and the sorority, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, has a partner, a 501c3 organization, which is a nonprofit charity that offers the scholarships. The scholarships are offered every single year without fail. The scholarship application opens every September and stays open until the spring. And so this year, our applications are open until March 2nd. And so I did share with you the link so that you can go online, create an application, take an eligibility quiz, determine if you are eligible for some of our scholarships. And I'm proud to say there are 16 to choose from. And the 16 will allow you to be a high school senior, an undergraduate matriculating, as well as a graduate or a professional student. So we have funded students from high school all the way through medical school. So they're open to men and women. You do not have to be a member of our illustrious organization to apply. Only 4 of 16 are set aside just for our membership. So that means 12 are open to young men and young ladies. So I encourage everyone to take advantage of this because our awards are $3,000 a piece. And if you are a past recipient, you still are eligible to reapply every single year. Now, you won't get it automatically, but you will be evaluated against that class of applications. So I want to share that with you and leave that with you. So I invite Ms. Jersey Scott, Mr. Quincy Howard to definitely participate in the application process, and the awards will be announced for next fall. So when you apply in March, we award for the fall. So I do invite you to be, and Miss Georgetown, she is a past recipient, but you do have the opportunity to reapply as well. So I leave you with these tidbits, and I want to let everybody know, don't be discouraged. There is money, and I encourage you to apply for scholarships because this is our opportunity to help create generational wealth for our next generation. The less debt that you have coming out of college allows you more opportunities to start your life and really go out and explore the world in terms of having disposable income to invest, travel, and really expand your horizons. So Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome all your questions. I am truly proud of all the scholarship recipients we have. I am thankful to the parents that have been supportive, and do know that we here at ZNEF are looking forward to your applications, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you to our International Second Vice President, Chrislyn Turner. You provided a wealth of information as a rater, first class advice. So thank you for gracing us with your presence today. As we prepare to wrap up, I would be remiss to share that Kappa Iota Zeta has a scholarship program, and I would like to share a screen briefly to talk to you about a couple of our scholarships that we have available. So again, Kappa Iota Zeta chapter, we have two scholarships, the Marinette B. Lovejoy Scholarship and the Zora Neale Hurston Humanities Scholarship. These provide financial assistance to female high school seniors in the Metro Atlanta area pursuing higher education at an accredited four-year in college or university. The application window is open, and the deadline to apply is March 1st, 2022. And as our scholars that are on with us today said, don't limit yourself. Please apply. There is the email link that you can email us if you have any questions and concerns. Please feel free to scan the QR code for our application or reach out via our social media handles or our website at z5bkiz.com. Thank you all, everybody, to our panelists, for being here with us today. And I will let Mrs. Tisha McKay close us out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. This has been amazing. This has been awesome. My smile got even bigger when our second International Vice President mentioned the fact that the three participants who are enrolled in school now can also apply for those ZNEF scholarships. Please know I look forward to writing a recommendation letter for you, and I'll be sure to put Diamond Life member behind it in a text or a turn up, like, look out for Jersey, Quincy, and for L'Oreal. They should be coming in, and we know they'll be top notch. This workshop has been for our Zeta chapter, Zeta Phi Beta, Kappa Iota Zeta chapter in Atlanta, East Point area. The scholarships mentioned for our chapter do serve Metro Atlanta students. Since I am in Middle Georgia and with my Middle Georgia family, please let me let you know there are Zeta scholarships locally serving the Middle Georgia area. Additionally, there are other scholarships. I'm a member of the Pilot Club. You can be like Jersey and secure that scholarship. There's so many opportunities for you to get scholarships. On behalf of our chapter president, again, Regina McLaren Freeman, it has been a pleasure today to serve you with information. We could not have done such a wonderful job without our student panelists. Good luck to each of you as freshmen at each of your institutions. Love you all. Thank you so much for the parents being here today. I could not have imagined how well this work has gone. Of course, we cannot sing our praises of our second vice president at the international level enough. Thank you, Sarah Turner. Love you, my dear friend, Ms. Ford. And thank you. Thank you all. We look forward to this information getting out, and we look forward to all of the scholars having success on their journey. Take care.
The students. Good luck, students.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for having us.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.